In the negotiations leading to the 2008 exchange, other mysteries were put on the table. Hezbollah demanded from Israel information on 4 Iranians who disappeared in Lebanon in 1982. Like the RAED affair, the fate of the Iranians remains unclear. But what is known is that on the 4th of July, a month after the Israeli invasion of Lebanon, a car carrying 3 Iranian diplomats and a state-employed photographer was stopped at a checkpoint north of Beirut. The checkpoint was manned by the Christian militia, at the time allied to Israel. The 4 Iranians were detained by the militia. The former head of security of the militia admitted that he supervised the arrest of the 4 Iranians, and that he was later informed that all 4 were killed in detention. They were then said to be buried close to the headquarters. The death of the Iranians was also reported by Robert Hartam, seen here on the left. He was the personal bodyguard of the man on the right, Christian militia leader Eli Hobeika. Hartam claims the Iranians were executed by Hobeika's men and buried in northern Lebanon. In the run-up to the exchange, Israel's account of the fate of the 4 Iranians did not satisfy Hezbollah.
What the Israelis told us about the Iranian diplomats is nothing more than an essay. Information with no real value, based mostly on a book available in bookshops. And at the end of the report, they concluded that the Iranian diplomats were not in Israel.
Reports that the Iranians might have been in Israel had been put forward by Hobeika. A few years before his assassination in 2002, Hobeika met with the son of one of the missing men.
In 2000, the meeting between myself and Eli Hobeika lasted for 2 hours. We discussed everything about the subject. In the end, Hobeika said, I didn't issue any order to kill them. Even when I was an official with the Phalangists, they were in the custody of Sami Jaja. He used to transfer some prisoners to Israel. This was known. And in the same way, they were also transferred to Israel.
Raed al-Moussawi visited Samir Kuntar following his release. He was there to congratulate, but also to uncover any information about the fate of his missing father. The exchange deal had revealed nothing new. Yet he had reason to believe that his father and his 3 colleagues are being held in Israel.
Many witnesses claim they saw them in Israeli prisons. Not to mention that a lot of people in Lebanon testified that they were transferred to Israel. We received information from Israel that Ahmed Habibullah, one of the released Palestinian prisoners, saw the diplomats' names on a list in one of the Israeli prisons.
The 2008 exchange between Israel and Hezbollah went ahead, but neither side gained everything they had hoped for. Israel's report on the missing Iranians failed to convince Hezbollah. And for its part, Hezbollah's account of the fate of Israeli pilot Ron Arad lacked definite evidence. Optimists believe that the enduring mysteries of Ron Arad and the 4 Iranians provides possible grounds for future dialogue. Hezbollah's chief negotiator assessed the lessons of the 2008 deal and the new standards that have been set.
The value of the exchange operation was that it broke the criteria established by Israel. The first of the criteria was exchanging the living for the dead. The second was the release of Palestinians. The third was the release of an Arab hero like SAMIR Qantar, whom Israel says has blood on his hands and who was sentenced to 542 years in prison.
There is a demand in Israel for the creation of some standards or principles, or even a party that can manage a negotiation process, not to carry on in the form of this open carnival system that happens now.
Even the families of those who became the pawns in the Israel-Hezbollah power play understand the importance of negotiations.
There is no price, and I repeat and say there is no price to pay for releasing them. But we need to be sure that any one of us who are captured must be back home.
I don't imagine for a moment that Israel decided to release SAMIR KUNTAR only to regain 2 coffins. They decided to release him because they don't want any new coffins.
The Israelis know that with the Hezbollah they have a different kind of enemy. I have always written this. I think that they don't know how to deal with the Hezbollah. They want to say they know how to deal with it, but I don't think they know how to deal with Hezbollah. Clearly, the exchange proved that the war had ended, and it proved the Israelis lost.
The 2008 deal marks a settling of accounts, however limited, between 2 sworn enemies. Bodies and prisoners have been exchanged. But no one believes this is the end of the conflict.
The war between Israel and Hezbollah will continue in other shapes. They'll try to continue to kidnap Israelis. Israel would retaliate in such cases. And if there is a major confrontation with Iran, either by Israel or by the West, Iran would activate Hezbollah, and Hezbollah would attack Israel. It's clear cut.
They have to understand now that they are in a period of defeat. They have entered an era of defeat. The past is gone.
I think Israel is better prepared for war now. Their army could reach Beirut within a week or 2. There's no doubt that the Israeli army are much stronger than Hezbollah, but it's not about how prepared you are. Today we've learned that fighting Hezbollah is more difficult because they too have realized their own strength.
If there is a meaning to Hezbollah's behavior and its performance in liberating land or prisoners, then it would be that Israel only understands the language of force.
Israel and Hezbollah remain bitter enemies. Yet, for a number of years now, they have been talking to each other indirectly. Prisoner exchanges have been made. A great deal of information remains hidden, possibly unknown. Information which continues to hold great currency for both sides. And few believe that there will not be more prisoners and more corpses in the future.